Welcome back, panelists here. Marcos Moulitsas, the founder of Daily Kos. Kimberly Atkins, senior Washington news correspondent for WBUR in Boston. NBC News correspondent, host of MSNBC Live, Katie Tur. And David Brody, the chief political analyst for CBN News. So I'm going to pick up the conversation. We got Marcos here, who's got a lot to say about where the direction of the Democratic Party. This week, here's a bullet points of the Green New Deal. I want to put it up here. Achieve net zero greenhouse gas emissions, upgrade all existing buildings, overhaul transportation systems, guarantee job for every American. It's a resolution, not a bill. Here was President Trump's tweet in response, a bit of sarcasm. I think it is very important for the Democrats to press forward with their Green New Deal. It would be great for the so-called carbon footprint to permanently eliminate all planes, cars, cows, oil, gas, and the military, even if no other country would do the same. Brilliant. Marcos, the party, the Democratic Party, is this a healthy debate that's happening right now?
Yeah, I think this is aspirational. This is actually popular. I mean, if Trump thinks that this is going to hurt us politically, he's absolutely not really paying attention to the pulse of the country. This is aspirational. Like you said, it's not a bill. The details would have to be worked out. And this is so ambitious that these details would have to be worked out over decades. This is a broad, aggressive, bold agenda, and it'll take time to implement. But at least it shows people where the Democratic Party is going on the issue of climate change.
David, obviously, the president's team sees a re-election opening.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's wide and it's huge and it's a real big pothole, I think, Chuck, for the Democrats. Look, we know the polls. We've seen them. 35% of this country is conservative, 35% or so is moderate, 26% or so liberal. But this is going in a far different direction. Even some of the polling shows that only, I think it's 19%, it's an NBC poll actually, 19% think socialism is okay. These are Americans in this country. So the point is that Donald Trump sees this. He's a master brander. And I believe this is a major, major pothole for Democrats coming in 2020, big time. Iceberg right ahead.
I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I think you have some real reporting out there from experts, not just analysts on television, but from actual experts at the UN, from the Donald Trump's own administration, saying how dire this is. The UN said we have 12 years before complete disaster. You talked to the representative of the Marshall Islands, and he's calling it what could amount to genocide if we allow things to go as they are. The reports aren't just, hey, it's going to get bad. The reports are people will die. Millions and millions and millions of people will die. And I think that there is an appetite among voters out there, especially Democratic voters and potentially swing voters, to say, hey, let's do something about this now because it's going to affect our future. And there's real economic damage that can happen as well. Billions of dollars in economic damage from crops to deaths to losing oceanfront homes and businesses over the next century.
Real quick, just a pushback, because the 2020 election won't just be about this Green New Deal. It'll be about the whole kit and caboodle, whether it means cutting ICE funding. I mean, look at abortion, what's going on with the third trimester situation. I mean, President Trump's going to put all of that into the blender, if you will. And I think it paints the Democrats as way far to the left, and it's a major problem.
And I were talking about this, and what the Democrats, I think, have learned about Trump more than anything else is that own that stuff and don't be afraid to back down from the positions that they're willing to take. Donald Trump never backed down. Maybe the solution is to own it.
And I think on an issue like this, on the environment, it's sort of like healthcare. It's something that people understand and connect to. And they are seeing these dire warnings, and they're thinking about their children and not even their grandchildren, their children, and what kind of world we are literally leaving for them. And I think that is an issue that moves. And I think the aspirational aspect of this, I actually think was pretty brilliant to not put in a bunch of details that people can immediately start taking down. I think you'd say, hey, come to the table with the proposals that will help us deal with this very important problem.
In the details.
Look, and all of this is going to, as the proposals are fought over, it's going to then delve into, okay, does that make, if the Democratic Party, is that going to make them less electable? So, Marcos, this today, I think, is a great framing. You had Amy Klobuchar, and yesterday you had Elizabeth Warren. And Elizabeth Warren, I would call it a clarity of purpose. There was no ambiguity. Amy Klobuchar is going to talk about bragging about getting bills signed by President Trump. That's two different, I say this, that's two different. She's saying, I'm a get things done person. You can dream all you want. How's that going to play out?
I think we're looking for dreamers at this point. I mean, Trump is going to accuse us of being socialist no matter what. doesn't matter what the agenda is. He's going to use the same playbook. It didn't work in 2018. It's not going to work in 2020. And so I think it's important to really think aspirational, is to give people a sense of where the candidate wants to be. Yes, we can is actually a very positive message, as opposed to maybe Klobuchar or Sherrod Brown saying, no, we can't. And we all realize that the political process in the U.S. is slow. It's designed that way. So not a lot's going to get done, no matter who the president is, but who has that vision that can articulate what the Democratic Party is all about. And that's what's going to get people excited.
You know, it was yes, we can, but I'm wondering if now it's yes, we can become a socialist country. And I know that sounds alarmist.
Socialism for
I know that
every
sounds, hang on for a
election
second.
since.
But I know
the
that sounds alarmist. But remember, you've got Donald Trump and the "Make America Great Again" slogan, right, against potentially the way he brands it, "Make America Socialist" for the first time. Yeah, but I tell you what, that is powerful, especially with those white, middle-class, blue-collar Democrats who are relatively culturally conservative. That's important. You got to win some of those back, or you have to go the other route and go with more minorities and women.
Potentially, though. I mean, I talked to 5 senior Democratic officials on 2020 campaigns about what that question is, electability. What exactly does it mean for the Democratic Party? And almost all of them said, listen, I think electability is going to be easier with Donald Trump as the general election candidate than it would be with anybody else. The primary is the real battle. They feel like what they need to do is propose or lay out who they are, what their plans are, and show how Donald Trump has not been presidential and has not lived up to the promises he made to the voters in the upper Midwest, in Pennsylvania, to those middle-of-the-road voters. And I think that they might have an argument with that. When you look at who voted for Donald Trump and you look at what's happening in, like, Macomb County, you'll see that there's some economic worry there that he hasn't represented them as he promised.
Very quickly, Kimberly, you've covered Elizabeth Warren for a long time. The issue of her identity and this issue of Native American identity, it came up in another place that was found. It was interesting, her announcement coverage. I was curious to see how much would it be part of it. The New York Times, they didn't mention it until graph 14, but Politico, it was in the headline. It was in the first graph of the Washington Post, second graph of the Associated Press. Is she ever going to be able to put this behind her?
She's working at it. You saw her spend a good deal of time of her speech talking directly to and about the issues affecting people of color. And that's where the fault line is because people of color don't like it when people who are not a person of color try to claim to be. It's beyond a Native American problem. So in that sense, she's addressing it. But on the flip side, the more Donald Trump tweets out tweets, like he did yesterday with Trail in it, a reference to the Trail of Tears.
You think it helps her, weirdly?
Yes, do things that really seem offensive and awful, that make people uncomfortable. It becomes a Trump issue, and at the very least, you hear Democrats saying, you know, it's a Trump issue. I don't want to talk about that. Let's not focus on that.
Interesting. I'm going to pause the conversation here. Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.